She will speak about preparing people for the workforce. It's hard to imagine anything more relevant. So, Eliana, we are very interested to see what's coming. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you so much. I'm sharing my screen. Oh, sorry. Can you see my presentation well now?
Yes.
So, hello everyone, I'm Eliana Maria Torre, and before starting, I just wish to thank Dr. Goralnik and the Learning Ideas Conference team for giving me the chance to be here today, and thank you for hosting me. Today, I will present a portion of my current PhD research, which is focused on enhancing the skills and well-being of the workforce at the National Roman Museum. Before discussing specifics, let's provide a brief introduction to illustrate the theoretical perspective and the Italian context. Surely, learning is a vital component of transformative theory and emancipatory processes, as it helps to transform individuals, groups, and organizations, including work organizations. When working in museum education, it's fundamental to consider the new definition of museums and the pivotal role played by transversal competencies for lifelong learning. The new definition of museums is particularly relevant for these research purposes, in the part that states that museums are open to the public, accessible and inclusive, that they foster diversity and sustainability, operate and communicate ethically, professionally, and with the participation of communities, thus offering varied experiences for education, enjoyment, reflection, and knowledge sharing. Transversal competencies, on the other hand, are relevant to society in the perspective of lifelong learning, as they are necessary for personal fulfillment, healthy and sustainable lifestyle, employability, active citizenship, and social inclusion. And in this sense, they are fundamental to achieving well-being. In particular, mental well-being is defined by the World Health Organization as a dynamic state in which the individual is able to develop their potential, work productively and creatively, build strong and positive relationships with others, and contribute to their community. Therefore, museums have the potential to bring about positive social change and can combat social exclusion. In so doing, they contribute to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals 3 and 4, which aim to promote healthy living and well-being and access to education for all. However, making collections culturally accessible remains difficult. Indeed, museum professionals must receive up-to-date training to keep up with the new commitment to accessibility and inclusivity. Also, although endeavors have been made to reform the professional order of the Italian Ministry of Culture by creating new roles and defining each profile within them, there is still room for improvement. And apart from postgraduate university courses in museum education, the only training program available for museum professionals involved in education is the National Training Course on Accessibility to Cultural heritage, which is not free nor mandatory for museum educators, and it's focused only on including blind and deaf or hard of hearing visitors. Additionally, when thinking about the Italian context, one must take into account the need for more personnel within the ministry. And this, in some cases, affects the use of valuable resources, museum resources, such as assistance to the fruition, welcome, and vigilance, that is AFAV in Italian. And due to each institution's complex organization, AFAVs are not always used to their full potential, even though they can contribute to the planning and delivery of museum visits and the educational programs. So, in this research is part of a doctoral project, as I told you at the very beginning, and it aims to promote mental well-being, social inclusion, and active citizenship for different museum visitors, especially those at risk of marginalization. And in particular, this contribution describes the work done so far towards the realization of the first expected outcome, that is to provide the National Roma Museum staff with tools for art-based inclusive educational activities that can be applied to each visit easily. The research hypothesis of this doctoral project phase is that specific training activities for museum professionals can help them improve their competencies and flexibility, contributing to their mental well-being and the perceived usefulness of their professional role. 3 research questions are set to verify the hypothesis, and these are as follows. First, do learning experiences for museum professionals affect their mental well-being? And if so, how? Second, do learning experience for museum professionals affect their 4C skills? And if so, how? And third, do learning experiences for museum professionals affect the perceived usefulness of their work tasks? And if so, how? The operationalization of the research hypothesis is formulated into objectives for each research question, and they are firstly, to design and offer inclusive and art-based learning opportunities that promote well-being and the 4C skills and are relevant to the museum professional's job. Secondly, to monitor and evaluate the levels of the participants' well-being, the 4C skills, and the perceived usefulness of the learning experience for the work tasks. And thirdly, to investigate how these learning experiences can help museum professionals become more competent and adaptable in their roles. So, talking about the actual activity I designed and offered to the museum staff, first thing first, museum staff members were informed of the research project's goals, the activities they would participate in, and how data would be collected, stored, and analyzed. They voluntarily took part in tours that employed visual thinking strategies, which is a teaching and learning method that revolves around art and promotes inclusivity. In particular, I arranged 3 facilitated tours of 45 minutes each, one for each of the 3 locations of the National Roma Museum currently open to the public. In total, they are 4. The museum objects selected for the practical session are sculptures, pottery for ritual uses, personal ornaments, weapons, and a chariot. thus providing diverse artifacts for triggering group discussions. And for a similar reason that is to encourage fresh and original reflections, priority was given to lesser known objects. After the practical session, participants were provided with a theoretical framework of the visual thinking strategy methodology, online resources, and a reference list for further autonomous study. Regarding evaluation, the levels of well-being, the 4C skills, and the perceived usefulness of the experience were evaluated. The Italian translation of the UCL generic well-being questionnaire, a full 12-item version, was used to measure well-being. During the practical visual thinking strategy session, the 4C skills were observed and evaluated as they emerged while participants interacted with each other. And the focus group technique was used to investigate the perceived usefulness of the experience because it allows for more profound data collection compared to personal relationships. Regarding participants, 17 employees in total wanted to participate in the activity. Most participants are aged between 30 and 40. 3 are over 60 and just 1 is younger than 30. Regarding their educational level, only 1 participant had studied archaeology, and only 1 participant had studied pedagogy, and this is really telling, I think, because we're talking about museum education in an archaeological museum. Then 6 participants achieved just a high school diploma, and for the rest, we have backgrounds in humanities, in arts, restoration, and 1 in architecture. Furthermore, most of participants are AFAFs, a position for which admission qualification is a high school diploma. And there are also 2 communication officers and 1 technical assistant. What is worth noting, in my opinion, is that none of them had previously tried the visual thinking strategies, neither as learners, visitors, nor as educators. According to the data analysis on well-being levels, all participants reported medium to high levels of well-being due to their participation in the practical activity. And as shown in the slide, the visits conducted through this methodology were highly enjoyed, generated significant interest in cultural heritage, and were carried out in a way that made individuals feel confident, safe, secure, allowing them to appreciate the company of other people. The high mode and median values and a slight standard deviation further confirm these results for each item. I'm going very quickly because of the time we have, and so now I will talk about the 4C skills. An overview of the data analysis regarding the 4C skills indicates high scores for all 3 groups, and as for the case of well-being levels, mode and median values are high and the standard deviation is light. In this case, a few aspects are worth noting, in my opinion, and first things first, communication and collaboration. Communication and collaboration were influenced not only by the visual thinking strategy's effectiveness, but also, as clearly emerged during the following focus groups, by the individual's character and the fact that they were in a group of people who in part already knew each other. The atmosphere was serene, inclusive, and collaborative, even though some colleagues interacted informally while others formally. Regarding creativity, this is perhaps the most challenging skill to measure without creative workshop activities. However, the number of participants in the group and its composition can influence it. In fact, Group B was the smallest and consisted only of high school graduates, while Group C was the largest. And within Group C was the only archaeologist who immediately took a leading role for the whole group in communicating personal insights and new ideas for other participants, reformulating and deepening concepts for the benefit of all, as others contributed with their personal thoughts. And finally, critical thinking. High levels of critical thinking may have been partially influenced by the fact that they are adult participants and employees of the museum, even though not all of them have a consistent education about the museum topics. The co-occurrence analysis of the data gathered from the focus groups indicates that promoting the development of the 4C skills among the participants significantly impacted their cognitive and emotional engagement. In particular, this approach allowed them to discover or rediscover some aspects of the artifacts they may have missed before, making them feel good. Additionally, the participants linked their sense of well-being with increased job flexibility, better educational opportunities provided by the National Roma Museum, the chance to explore cultural heritage in depth based on the interests of both staff and visitors, and an overall improved professional role for the AFABs. Conversations raised, let's say, multifaceted aspects of the learning experience, revealing different themes that are often interrelated. Regarding participants' well-being, for instance, they felt engaged and confident, not only because of the visual thinking strategies, tools, modalities, but also because it was an experience specifically designed for them as museum professionals. In particular, participant 13 felt very good, learning many things, many details she never noticed. Participant 11 voiced, maybe I felt valued since I'm here. Apart from giving information to tourists, I don't do anything else. I studied so much in my life, and at least today I used it. It would be nice always to have an approach like this. Reflecting on the visual thinking strategy methodology and the implication of its adoption at the National Roma Museum, various considerations emerged. For instance, participant 17 stated that the visual thinking strategy is a way to let the visitor into the work of art and then to link the various references, and also create the coordinates that give meaning to what people are seeing. According to participant 12, it makes you want to discover more, while participant 1 commented, you come to realize that culture encompasses many different fields. As a result, when people share their impressions, it reveals a whole series of notions that you may not have known before. These can enrich you in unexpected ways. Participant 9 considered that we need to entice normal people, meaning not archaeologists or historians and so on. And this methodology does so much more. Participant 1 also believed that visual thinking strategies could be a beautiful compromise to learn more with a warmer method and quite flexible. During the meetings, participants suggested ways to incorporate visual thinking strategies into the National Roman Museum educational programs. Some proposed ideas included scheduling visual thinking strategies tours at specific hours or making them available for booking, identifying personnel in the rooms available for visual thinking strategies activities, and making them recognizable to visitors, because this would encourage visitors to interact with them if interested. Furthermore, participants expressed interest in combining visual thinking strategies tours with workshops and technological solutions, and applying the methodology into social media communication. Regarding the professional role of the museum staff, participant 4 observed that listening to visitors during visual thinking strategies session could help to understand from which side of the story the museum must continue, meaning that the museum could better understand which aspects of a collection are most meaningful and exciting to people, thus gaining insights on how to narrate its collection in a way that is more organic and understandable. Participant 11 added, if you really experience a museum, it's like a matryoshka doll. As you approach, the whole matryoshka doll gradually opens up. What once seemed distant, now we understand is still a part of your daily life. But the problem is that someone should help you to disassemble the matryoshka doll. Otherwise, you will only see a cultural substrate. Also, participant 11 suggested that using visual thinking strategies makes it possible to break down barriers and create more human relationship between individuals, whether between visitors or between visitors and museum staff. And this can be achieved by, quote unquote, temporarily getting off the pedestal and engaging in collaborative discussion where everyone's opinion is valued. This approach fosters a horizontal relationship between people at the museum rather than the traditional hierarchical one. To conclude, participant 16 commented, one feels more involved. I speak as enough of. It's a way to give more, to offer something different that allows you to enhance particular experiences. While participant 8 remarked, if they allowed us to change our professional role a little, many of us would be happy. This research phase still needs to be completed. After discussing the results with the participants and the museum director, the most suitable ways to include visual thinking strategies activities in the museum educational offerings will be determined, and the ultimate goal is to make cultural heritage more accessible to everyone. So I'm about to conclude my presentation, and what can I say? The study explored how specific training activities for museum professionals can help them improve their competencies and flexibility, contributing to their mental well-being and the perceived usefulness of their professional role. the number of participants was small. However, considering the service needs and the significant personnel shortage, it's possible to consider the number of participants achieved adequate. And although the study's results cannot be generalized due to the small number of participants and because they represent only the specific context of the National Roman Museum, there are indications of the effectiveness of the visual thinking strategies methodology in mediating the National Roman Museum collections in culturally accessible ways, stimulating the forces skills, and promoting the well-being of participants. Preliminary evidence suggests that it's possible to integrate visual thinking strategies among the tasks of the National Roman Museum staff, particularly by redeveloping the role of AFAVs and giving them a new sense of purpose, which in turn could affect their sense of well-being. Here is a reference list, and thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, they are more than welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Eliana. I'm really appreciated, and how to say, I appreciate these that you use e-learning approaches to focus the well-being of staff. Maybe my question goes beyond your work, but do you know about work like that in other areas? To me, this is great what we are doing. Do you know, are you aware of people doing things like you are doing in other fields beyond the limits of museums?
For sure, this methodology of visual thinking strategies is used also in education, I mean at school. In some cases, even though in Italy it's not common at all, because in Italy we are really used to the classical frontal lesson. And there is a group of research in Italy that is basically responsible for bringing to Italy this methodology, and it's the group VTS Italia. This group also used these methodologies with in patients, so in hospitals. And this methodology has proved helpful in both these contexts, let's say education and hospitals, because it's inclusive. It's only it's because it's based on communication, collaboration between peers, or more in general between people also of different ages, if you want, and interests. They sort of create an environment that is perceived as safe, because it starts from the consideration, okay, I think this, but I'm really interested in listening to your opinion and create together a new sense, or let's make it more profound. And because it's based on communication, it's also useful for those people that generally struggle with text-based content.
Thank you, Eliana. I believe we have used up our time. Thank you to everybody in the audience.
Thank you.
We have learned a lot. we have been surprised maybe a bit about the one or the other approach and result. Thanks, Eliana. This was valuable. And administration, please let us go to the next speaker.